In the shadows of Florence, a killer roamed, turning the city's ancient streets into a place of dread and suspicion. He claimed at least 16 lives from 1968 to 1985, a reign of terror that spanned nearly 2 decades and left a permanent scar on the city's collective memory. The Monster of Florence, as he became known, evaded law enforcement at every turn. Despite countless investigations, endless hours spent by detectives, and honestly thousands of leads, he always seemed to be one step ahead. This mysterious figure targeted couples in secluded spots, often on the outskirts of the city, shocking the nation with his brutality and the ritualistic nature of his crimes. Over 100 suspects were scrutinized, interrogated, and sometimes even arrested, yet the case remains unsolved, with no one ever definitively brought to justice. Cryptic letters, bizarre clues, and the absence of solid evidence only fueled wild speculation and conspiracy theories, making the investigation even more complex. With no definitive apprehension, the case tightened its grip on the public's imagination. The monster's legend grew, leaving Italy haunted by an enigma that, persists to this day, inspiring fear and fascination in equal measure. The first murders in 1968 sent ripples of fear through the rolling hills of Tuscany, shattering the peace of the countryside and forever changing the way locals viewed their once idyllic surroundings. 2 couples, parked in their cars on quiet country lanes, became the first victims of a macabre ritual that would become tragically familiar, their lives cut short in a manner that baffled investigators. The killer's weapon of choice, a .22 caliber Beretta pistol, left a chilling signature at each scene, a detail that would link the crimes and haunt detectives for years. As the body count rose, so too did the terror that gripped the region. Families locked their doors, lovers avoided the countryside, and the city of Florence found itself shrouded in a fear that would linger for generations. The Monster of Florence did not choose his victims randomly. They were always young couples seeking intimacy away from prying eyes. The secluded lanes and wooded areas surrounding Florence became hunting grounds, places where love and passion were twisted into scenes of honestly unimaginable horror. The killer's modus operandi was chillingly consistent. He would often attack after dark, using the cover of night to ambush his victims in their cars. The details of the crimes, often too gruesome to print, became the stuff of hushed whispers. The killer's apparent obsession with mutilating female victims, particularly their genitalia, added a layer of depravity that shocked even seasoned investigators. The press, hungry for any scrap of information, seized upon these details, further fueling the public's morbid fascination with the case. Despite the best efforts of Italian law enforcement, the Monster of Florence remained frustratingly elusive. The Carabinieri, Italy's national police force, dedicated significant resources to the investigation, even forming a special task force to focus solely on the case. They meticulously combed through crime scenes, interviewed thousands of potential witnesses, and chased down every lead, no matter how tenuous. Yet for every step forward, the investigation seemed to take 2 steps back. The killer was meticulous, leaving behind little to no physical evidence. The murder weapon, despite being linked to several crimes, was never recovered. Witnesses, often traumatized by what they had seen or heard, provided conflicting accounts. The lack of a clear motive only deepened the mystery, leaving investigators grappling with more questions than answers. As the investigation dragged on, with no arrests made and no clear suspects identified, rumors began to swirl like dust devils in the Tuscan wind. The lack of concrete information created a vacuum, one that was quickly filled by speculation, conjecture, and outright fear. Theories abounded, each more outlandish than the last. Some whispered that the killer was a satanic cult, performing ritualistic sacrifices. Others pointed to a lone madman, driven by a twisted sense of pleasure. Still, others claimed that the killer was a scorned lover seeking revenge for a past betrayal. The lack of a definitive answer only served to fuel these theories, turning the Monster of Florence into a modern-day boogeyman, a figure whispered about in hushed tones. One of the most intriguing leads in the Monster of Florence case emerged in the early 1980s, pointing investigators towards the island of Sardinia. Several of the murders bore striking similarities to a series of unsolved killings that had plagued the island a decade earlier. These killings, also targeting young couples, involved similar methods of operation, and in some cases shared a chilling detail: the removal of pubic hair from the female victims. This connection led investigators to focus their attention on Sardinian immigrants living in and around Florence. They theorized that the killer, or killers, might have been involved in the earlier Sardinian crimes and had brought their gruesome practices with them to mainland Italy. While this line of inquiry yielded several persons of interest, it ultimately failed to produce any concrete evidence linking the Sardinian killings to the Monster of Florence. Over the course of the 17-year investigation, Italian authorities left no stone unturned, investigating over 100 individuals in their relentless search for the Monster of Florence. Each person was scrutinized, their lives dissected, and their backgrounds combed for any possible connection to the gruesome crimes. Some were petty criminals, their past transgressions making them easy targets for suspicion as investigators searched for patterns or motives that might fit the killer's profile. Others were loners or social outcasts, people who lived on the fringes of society and drew attention simply because they didn't fit in. Their eccentricities, unusual habits, odd behaviors, or reclusive lifestyles were often misinterpreted as signs of potential violence, fueling public paranoia. Still, others were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, swept up in the investigation by coincidence or bad luck. For these individuals, the weight of circumstantial evidence was enough to turn their lives upside down, leaving families and reputations in ruins. One of the most prominent suspects was Pietro Pacciani, a name that would become infamous across Italy. Pacciani was a farmhand with a troubled past and a history of violence, which made him a prime suspect in the eyes of the authorities. In 1994, after a sensational trial that gripped the nation, Pacciani was tried and convicted of the murders, largely on the basis of circumstantial evidence and the testimony of witnesses whose accounts were often contradictory or unclear. However, doubts about his guilt persisted, and his conviction was eventually overturned on appeal, casting new uncertainty on the case. Pacciani died in 1998 while awaiting a retrial, taking many secrets with him to the grave and leaving the case unresolved. Despite the intense scrutiny, relentless media coverage, and numerous trials that followed, the truth remained elusive. To this day, no one has ever been definitively linked to all 16 murders attributed to the Monster of Florence, and the mystery endures. The Monster of Florence case, despite officially remaining unsolved, continues to captivate and haunt the Italian public. Decades have passed since the last known attack, yet the story remains ever present in the collective memory of Italy. Conversations about the case still echo in city squares and quiet countryside villages, as people wonder if the truth will ever come to light. The sheer brutality of the crimes, coupled with the killer's ability to evade capture for nearly 2 decades, has cemented its place in Italian criminal history. The monster's reign of terror left a mark not only on the victims' families, but on the psyche of an entire nation, forever altering the sense of safety in the picturesque Tuscan hills. The case has been the subject of countless books, documentaries, and television programs, each attempting to shed light on the mystery and unmask the killer. Writers, journalists, and filmmakers from around the world have been drawn to Florence, hoping to uncover new clues or offer fresh perspectives on the chilling events. The enduring fascination with the case can be attributed to several factors. The monster's crimes have become a kind of dark folklore discussed and debated by generations, sparking theories and speculation that refuse to fade. The murders tapped into primal fears, reminding people that even in the most idyllic settings, darkness can lurk. The contrast between the beauty of the Tuscan landscape and the horror of the crimes only deepened the sense of unease, making the case all the more unforgettable. The lack of a definitive answer, the absence of a face to put to the evil, allows the imagination to run wild, conjuring up its own terrifying possibilities. For many, the unknown is more frightening than any truth, and the monster's identity remains a source of endless speculation and fear. And the fact that the case remains unsolved, that the killer may still be out there, serves as a chilling reminder that some monsters may never be caught. The shadow of the monster lingers, a haunting presence that continues to shape the way Italians see their world, and a mystery that may never be fully laid to rest. The Monster of Florence case had a profound impact on Italian society, extending far beyond the immediate fear and anxiety it generated. The murders forced Italians to confront the dark underbelly of their country, challenging the perception of Italy as a land of romance and beauty. The case also exposed flaws in the Italian justice system, highlighting issues of police incompetence, prosecutorial misconduct, and the unreliability of eyewitness testimony. Moreover, the case had a lasting impact on the lives of the victims' families, who were left to grapple not only with the loss of their loved ones, but also with the agonizing uncertainty surrounding their deaths. For these families, the Monster of Florence is not just a true crime story, it is a painful reality that continues to cast a long shadow over their lives. The Monster of Florence case remains one of Italy's most enduring mysteries. Despite decades of investigation, numerous theories, and countless hours of speculation, the identity of the killer remains unknown. The case serves as a stark reminder that even in the age of advanced forensic technology and sophisticated investigative techniques, some crimes remain stubbornly unsolved. The Monster of Florence, whether a lone individual or a group of conspirators, has faded into the realm of legend, yet the questions linger. Who was this shadowy figure who terrorized a nation? What drove them to commit such horrific acts? And will we ever truly know the answers to these questions? Until then, the Monster of Florence will continue to haunt the Italian psyche, a chilling reminder that some mysteries may never be solved.